Welcome back, everyone, to Hidden Wholeness, weaving the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine together. The topic of today's interview is alchemical practices to harmonize divine masculine and feminine. And so, my special guest today is Jen Cunnings. Jen is a powerful energy healer, spiritual guide, and sound healer who has coached and facilitated thousands of client sessions supporting transformation and opening awareness to higher levels of consciousness. Jen specializes working with empaths in the areas of empowerment, self-love, and emotional healing. So, Jen, I'm really excited to have another sacred conversation with you again. And I thank you for saying yes, and I welcome you. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks, Sherry. I'm so happy to be together again. It's good to see you, and I love connecting in this space together.
Mhm. I'm looking forward to our conversation and see where it goes. Yes, yes. You and I were just talking about just having a little rundown of what we might talk about, and we both were talking about the infinity symbol and how powerful that is. And I was also saying that when we first start something, sometimes it's really nice to drop into our bodies because this is what we're trying to do, right? We've been so led by the masculine, and now we're trying to bring the feminine energy in. And so we're going to do this a little different if you're okay. And I'm
Sure.
going to ask for you to guide us through that one practice you were mentioning.
Sure. So, as Sherry just mentioned, one of the alchemical practices that we can incorporate to assist in balancing the feminine and the masculine, as well as the left brain and the right brain. And then we can also use it to balance like our spiritual and our physical connections. And so just by simply imagining, bringing our attention, bringing our focus to moving the infinity through our bodies can assist in that balance. And so, if you'd like to drop in to experience this, I'll help facilitate the process of the energy. And what we can do is just create an intention to really harmonize and balance anything that might be out of imbalance in the body. So, if everybody who's listening, if you can close your eyes and just begin to take some deep breaths. And as you breathe in, as you drop into your body, just notice, like kind of think about a teeter-totter. Do you feel really horizontal and even? Or does like maybe one side of you tilt up or tilt down? Maybe you notice that your left brain, like if you're to bring your attention to your actual physical brain, do you tend to dominate on the left brain, which is, more the structure, the math, or are you more creative in the right brain? So, what we're really wanting to do is just bring ourselves back into balance and back into harmony. So we're going to start with the heart, and I want you to imagine that there's an infinity symbol horizontal in your heart space with the middle right smack in the heart center. I want to also preface that this process can also be used to actually clear energy. If you've got stagnation, if you've got anything that feels heavy. So just take a moment to tune into your heart space, place that infinity symbol there, and then we're going to begin as a group now, everyone who's listening to this now and later, to start to loop and run that infinity. And Sherry, I'm going to focus on you. So we're going to actually bring the the flow of the alchemical process of this infinity to start to clear out imbalances in the heart, in between the front and the back, and the right and the left. So we're asking to, as we bring this in, and intention is everything, we're going to ask to clear any imbalances between the divine masculine and feminine. We're going to ask to let this infinity swoop through to clear any blockages to an open heart. And just using your mind's eye, using your intentions, you might even see this infinity going faster. Maybe it loops out wider into your field. We could even ask it to begin to balance our emotional and mental bodies and our energy fields. And again, it's really about intention. You get to use this to harmonize. And what I like to do is once I feel like there's this momentum flowing with the infinity, I might place it somewhere else. So if you'd like to place it in your brain, just imagining those two hemispheres of the brain beginning to harmonize. And another way to perceive this is your pituitary and your pineal gland are blending in that center point. And you can just simply begin to witness or intend that both sides of the brain, both the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, are in this harmonic balance. And then as that loops through, you could also, we'll do one more. This is another favorite one that I like to do often is starting again in the heart, but this time the infinity symbol is going to go vertical. It's going to go up into pure source creator consciousness, down through the heart, and then swooping down into the crystal heart of Mother Earth. So that we're balancing our physical with our etheric, our earth with heaven, as above, so below. And already I can just feel this harmonization happening as we move the energy of infinity in all these places. We can just allow these to continue to flow in whatever way feels best for you. But hopefully now we're feeling a little bit more balanced and vertically aligned and even horizontally a little more aligned. And I could certainly feel some energy clearing as we were moving through that. How about you, Sherry?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. And when you did connect the heart, bring it, anchor it into the earth and then bring it up into the heavens, into the cosmos, um, I can feel it. Now I can even feel, even though I feel elevated and expanded and anchored, but I feel anchored
Mhm.
too. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's missing for so many of us.
Yeah, in the sessions that I do, I find that a lot of us carry our energy up here, but not connected up all the way. And so, and it depends on the person, but I find that can be really, really helpful. I'll start a lot of my sessions off with having them connect up and connect down and envision that. So that way there's balance as we begin the healing work. Because often, if we're in a state of stress, if we're any kind of, if we're mentally focused or we're in fear, most of the time our energy is up here and we've kind of disconnected and disassociated from our bodies. And especially, just the energies in the world right now, all these solar flares and astrological shifts. So I find, what I'll do is I'll go out on the earth and I'll put my feet on the grass in the morning and I'll envision that. And then sometimes I'll envision the Taurus field,
Mhm.
which would be another practice, but yeah, just seeing that infinity. And then if I feel a blockage in my body and I'm driving and I don't really have time to like tune in, you can just put that anywhere you're feeling some heaviness. Like I already could feel once we ran that in the heart, like the heart space opened a bit.
Yes. Well, I could feel the shift. When I first start these, I'm always nervous and it's hard for me to drop in. And it's just like, so I really wanted, what I love about our session today is that there's three practices that you would love to show others how to do, and how we can begin to do these ourselves and not always look towards others, and really be able to anchor our energy, become aware of our energy, become aware of our body. And we're talking about the beautiful weaving of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and yet most of us are really working on trying to do this. And so let's go a little bit into the distortion, what we normally, most of us are used to experiencing, and the effects of that. How is that limiting us? I'd love to hear
Sure.
what it is that you think about this and how you feel.
Yeah, and I can really frame it in my personal experience, which of course is mirrored in my clients' experience. And so I tend to attract, like an empathic, sensitive, intuitive kind of person, particularly women. But most of the women, including myself, that I see have a block to embracing their divine feminine, in an easy way. And so there's been an adoption of this distorted masculine that kind of runs the show. So in that, what does that look like? If we're in a distorted masculine or an inability to receive our feminine, we tend to be in control. We tend to be left brain, and we tend to allow the mind to override the heart. And the reason why and then I will add to that, there's a lot of protection, and there's a significant fear of vulnerability and really opening the heart, because there have been violations and wounds that, whether you've been in a male body or a female body, that have been like kind of the victim persecutor consciousness. There's been the victim, and then there's been the persecutor. And in these past events that we've seen in our own lineage, in our own lifetimes, and all lifetimes, we see this, of course, on the bigger stage of where the feminine, the artistic, the creation has been squashed. And then, so what did that do for us? Well, we squashed that within ourselves. I can think back to being a little girl and, wanting to play and sing and dance and maybe draw. And those weren't qualities that were approved of. You have to go to school and do your thing. And, knowledge and acquisition of intelligence and information is more important than creative outlets, right? So we can see this mass distortion of imbalance that is played out, in the world scene. But then what's most important is for us to reflect and inquire to where we have felt imbalanced, where we don't trust maybe the masculine to protect us. That's its divine job, right? The divine masculine is here to protect, hold a container, have structure, have actualization. And then the feminine, in that safe place, she's allowed to flow and open and feel safe to tune into what I always just feel like is like this natural flow of creation energy, so that we can be clear instruments to allow creation to move through us. But if we don't feel safe and we're in control and contraction and protection, we are certainly not allowing that in, and we're certainly not allowing it to be expressed. That's why there's so many people that I've seen, and I'm sure you can relate, Sherry, with blocked throat chakras, because or issues in the sacral womb area, because these creation centers aren't in flow, because we've existed in so much distortion on the outer and the inner. So the practices that we're playing with today can assist you in, not just you, Sherry, you, everybody who's listening, can start to open up the flow of energy so that we can, dismantle the distortion. And I would say another word for distortion is like a separation between the masculine and the feminine, where they have not been in union and harmony because we've had to separate because it wasn't safe, to trust. It wasn't safe for these to be in harmony. So that's a very long-winded answer.
No, it's actually a very beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I can feel everything. And there, sometimes when people are talking and just listening to you, there's so many things that we're going, and I can feel this. And it is really kind of sad that this starts when we're so young. And I always think about parents right now and the sacred role they have. And if only they knew how important it is to nurture that imagination in the child and the creativity in the child and let them have fun and play. And, because you're right, the mind, which is a beautiful thing. We want the mind, but we've just gotten so used to placing value only on the mind, on knowledge. Knowledge isn't wisdom, though.
Right. Yeah.
And wisdom comes from when we can bring our awareness into our body and access that.
Yeah.
And there really is this beautiful unveiling. Even when you were doing the infinity in the heart, I couldn't help but think about the beautiful petals of the heart opening and the qualities that we become. When we work on our healing, and it becomes very clear after a while that you start to understand that it really is about that. It's really about the essence of those. And then we access, for example, I know you're big on self-love. This is something that you really support people with. We cannot even get to self-love before we access compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like all of those qualities begin to open us up to this big revelation of what love really is, but we need to open the heart.
Absolutely. And the heart, has been protected just out of survival and self-preservation, and so then again, we adopt these rigid behaviors or ways of being, controlling, rigidity, disallowance, which you hit the nail on the head, Sherry, and I'll just emphasize it so people really understand that, is that when we're in that misalignment within ourselves because of, past wounds, and we hold the trauma, it is challenging to connect to our truest, highest self, which is that blossomed petal as you were perceiving in the heart. And so that's why this type of work is so important, to bring the balance, to clear the trauma and to harmonize so that our hearts can open. And as you know, Sherry, because we've done things together, classes with Grace, etc., like it's a process. It's not just, oh, one day I'm going to harmonize my divine masculine and feminine and here we go. There's a lot of trauma that we've carried and through our lineage and through our lifetimes. And, I see this over and over and over again in my clients where, there's so much fear, right? To open that creative side, to open our magic, right? The feminine gifts that are here. I started the past couple years working on this. I started drawing mandalas and I started, doing more artwork and music because I was realizing like, man, I am still weighted over in my left brain. I'm still letting my distorted masculine run my business. And there's force behind that. There's, an energy of, needing to prove yourself, which the masculine wound is that insecurity, inadequacy. So I had to adopt the feminine and start to play with both aspects of me in ways where we could start to trust each other again. I could trust myself again. I could trust that the creation would come through, and I could trust that I was going to hold the container to allow it. And, it's been quite the evolution of change, and not an easy one, right? Because it's hard for us to let go of the parts of us that want to run the show in a kind of dominant way to
Mhm.
stay safe. It's just to stay safe, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there's that disallowance of the feminine, because how could there be space to receive that creative flow energy if we're in dominance and control? So, again, I'm just speaking from my personal experience and my clients. I just see like there's just a lot of fear that needs to be cleared so we can bring these back into balance within ourselves. And then I'll close with this part. Like once once that's as we work on that within ourselves, that ripples out into the outer. That it's our job to focus on ourselves first, as I know most of those of us who are viewing know this.
Yes. But you bring up a very valid point there, though, too, because what you were talking about, oh, there's two things, what you just ended with, focusing on ourselves, and then, um, but here's the thing. This is what I still believe is happening. Um, there's so many quick fixes out there and people promising things. And it's like hacking some kind of spiritual practice that's not how we really truly awaken and embody and bring in more of our soul energy, our higher self energy into us. It's really a sacred process of purifying ourselves and becoming aware of ourselves. And so it's not something we want to brush through because there's such a beautiful opening in it. And if we try to rush, like for example, and you probably can relate, I think all of us can in some ways, when we do try to bypass and go quickly, and we begin to, for example, when I took Reiki and I could feel energy, it was like, oh, I now know what my calling is. And I was really excited. Well, that wasn't it yet because that's when my eyes started to I encountered my journey with my eyes. And I needed that because otherwise it would have been me, the personal self, the ego, that's still very much masculine driven and it was excited and it would have done good things. It wouldn't have not, but it wouldn't have come from the sacred aspect of me and then the divine leading and guiding and that beautiful harmony, this weaving of the sacred feminine and the masculine. And I mean, we're all a work in progress. It's something I think we do forever until we really are one with the divine. But yeah, there's just something. And so what I love about what you're doing with today is these practices. And so, Jen, can I invite you to weave in one of your other ones, the sun and the moon, and just show people what it's really like to begin to drop in and to experience this beautiful sacredness that beings that we are.
Absolutely.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I'll just preface before we drop in that there is a frequency and a vibration and an essence to everything, to all elements. So when we connect in to the sun and the moon, which we're going to do, we are actually doing that. Even if it feels like you might be using your imagination, we're going to be connecting into the essence and the consciousness of the moon. And we are thankfully, right on we had a super blue full moon yesterday. Um, and so even though it might, it seems like we're just using our imagination, really tune in to your body. And I'll walk you guys through this so that you are literally like receiving the transmission of the frequency. And so the moon will represent the feminine, the fluidity, the water, and then the sun, the masculine and the fire. Um, and so we're going to bring these into our bodies, and this is really simple, so it'll be pretty quick. But I would encourage you to close your eyes, and we'll just take a few breaths. You might even notice if you've been playing along with us today, you can see that your infinity symbols are still running up and down, left to right. And let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths, slow and deep into the heart space. And I want you to picture the moon, perhaps a memory of the moon when you were really kind of bathing in the moonlight. Just bring that image into your mind's eye. And imagine now that in your next few breaths, you can continue to deepen and lengthen your breath into your heart. Your heart begins to open and create a receiving space. And we're going to ask that we connect our heart space into the consciousness, into the energy, the vibration of the moon. You could even imagine you and the moon are meeting heart to heart, feeling her fullness, her femininity, her essence of water. And when you're ready, you're just going to imagine reaching up and drawing in the pure light essence and energy of the moon into your heart. And in this, we invite into our hearts that divine feminine, her essence, feeling the fluidity, perhaps imagining that there's the water element joining here. And we're going to just take a few moments, just breathing to simply receive this. Receive. Let yourself allow the moon's energy to gift to you. And while this is concentrated in your heart space, I want you to imagine that the essence of the moonlight, begins to radiate out beyond your heart and throughout your whole body. And now we're going to find ourselves outside, gazing up at the brilliant, bright, powerful sun. Taking a moment to commune with the sun, representing the divine masculine, representing power and strength. And when you're ready, we're going to invite the sun in to meet the moon. So the sun's going to come into your abdomen and it's going to meet the moon in a Vesica Pisces, where the two edges of the sphere overlap. So calling in the sun, bringing the sun into your abdomen, taking a few moments to really feel, receive the transmission from our sun. Feeling that fire element dissolving any barriers to your own inner strength, your pure power. Allowing it to blaze and entrain you, your abdomen, your body with the purity of power. So in our hearts, we have the moon. In our abdomen, we have the sun, and they overlap where that beautiful balance is in its pure state. And we'll allow the sun to shine out to where the moon and the sun are now in equal balance within you and all around you. You can maintain that visualization of the Vesica Pisces, where the individual aspects of the divine masculine and the divine feminine can be in their own representative expression, while there's also union and wholeness between the two, and that is between or within you. I'm just taking a few more breaths here just to continue to receive and resonate with these energies. And then when you're ready, we'll be coming back and opening our eyes. That always goes a little longer than I intend it to, but it just flows through. So you
You
never know.
know, it's so beautiful. And I really do love how our beautiful sacred conversation is weaving in these practices for people to experience. Because I do believe this is what we really need to start to do more of. And they don't take long, and it changes everything for us. And so I know part of what you wanted to talk about is what I was thinking about is the distortion for us in the sacral chakra and in relationships, the sacral and the solar plexus often. And we often what we do is we have bonds with people like almost trauma bonds. We resonate with people because of our past experience. And so it's like, oh, I really that person just like, oof, there's something about that person. And yet what we don't understand is not that they're just reflecting something that we're working on healing. It's really important to begin to clear, our womb and our sacral chakra and our solar plexus and the root chakra, just because it's so tied to the ancestral, the family imprints, and the things we identify, the masks we've been wearing, thinking this is our personality, in other words, thinking that's who we are based on our accomplishments. And yet that's not what we're talking about here. We're really talking about becoming this expression of self that we don't know yet.
Mhm.
So, can we explore that more deeply?
Are you asking specifically to the womb?
Yeah, sure. Because I feel like does what I shared about people looking for a partner, for example,
Mhm.
and identifying with somebody is like I'm thinking of somebody in particular that I know that feels very connected to somebody because based on past experiences that
Okay.
has this powerful connection and
Mhm.
it's not healthy.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Um, so as you've already stated, like we will attract what we need to return everything within us back to love. Like that's the most simplistic way that I perceive it and can communicate it in that, so if we hold in our womb this, trauma or abuse or past violations, and we need to resolve that, right? I kind of like my Rumi quote, everyone's who's ever heard me said this, like it's not our job to seek for love, but to seek and find all the barriers we built against it. And to me, that's just how life unfolds. Life will continue to show me where I'm holding density, where I'm holding separation from love, where I'm holding separation from that balance of my higher self, physical embodied self. And so we will bring in the relationships, we'll bring in, you know, issues with the body. We will attract what is needed so that we can, if we're willing to see and perceive that life is reflecting back everything within me that is seeking to be returned to love or alchemized to love. I was writing something the other day, like my favorite word is alchemy, because we can see where there's been separations. We can see where we've carried stuff. We can see where there's negative thoughts. We can see where we, have patterns of toxic behavior, or we keep attracting the same situation, or we keep having issues with money, or we keep having issues with our partners. And so it's just like, hey, let's look to see, right? And that's where, healing work comes in. And of course, I'm all about the energy healing and somatic body work and sound healing so that we can connect with these distortions. We can identify our barriers and separations for love. And truly, love is the greatest alchemist of all that is. And we can invite the essence of love, just like we did with the moon and the sun. I may know what love feels like, but I probably don't really know what love is like, just as it's, you know, true expression, but I can ask to receive, love through my breath, through my body, and send it to the places where I feel I'm holding density. So if we're willing to look at relationships or whatever, patterns of behavior, whatever, that are challenging and uncomfortable, then we can say, well, where am I holding this in my body? Where is this energy? Where is this wound? Where is this density of trauma? It's somewhere in here, right? It's hanging out in your cells and your tissues and your DNA. And then I can just simply breathe, as you said earlier, compassion into these spaces. I can bring love. I can call in the sun and the moon. I can bring my infinity. I mean, I think we grossly underestimate our power of our minds and our intentions to bring through, a loving space for something where we've held, distorted energy. And if we're willing to work with ourselves, and know that we had that capacity to alchemize anything, then we're just kind of we were looking at life will show us. We're just looking around like, oh, here's this situation again. Let's look to see where this originated. So that might be a complicated answer, but that's kind of the process of like, okay, universe, world, show me.
Right.
And then it's my responsibility to clean my house. And sometimes that might take a few years because sometimes that house is full of stuff. But that's part of the process, as you said earlier, Sherry, of like, we are to be patient, because it takes time to unravel. It takes time to take down the guards that we've built up to even access some of these places that are so wounded. They're so protected and defended. I'm a master of that.
Well, I think honestly, I think we all are masters.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's that distorted masculine saying
yeah.
like, yeah.
Yes. But okay, once again now, this brings up a few things. So the one thing just left my mind, and so I'm gonna leave that. But the heart, I want to go back to the heart because we talk about love. There's nothing more powerful than love, for love is what heals. And yet we have this concept of what love is.
Mm.
And it's a distorted concept because it's really based on something external to us, most of us anyway. It's external, what somebody or something will bring me joy, will bring me happiness, will bring me peace, will bring me love. And as you were talking, I couldn't help but I keep thinking about the petals in the heart and the qualities, the divine qualities. And I think those are the things that lead us to love. I really do. So I would love to pause and really, because this is something new that's dropping in for me, right? For example, I'm going through something currently, and it's something that keeps repeating, which brings me back to what you were talking about, because we keep repeating the same thing. If it's a core lesson, it will keep coming around, but the energy will start to dissolve. It won't be so intense. This one, though, is for me because it is truly something that I seem to have a hard time letting go of. And all of a sudden, the other day, I had like this clear moment. It was like, Sherry, this isn't about, because I was still so much in my mind trying to figure out what the lesson is. What do I need to figure out here? How am I supposed to support this person? How do I stay in my heart doing it? And then all of a sudden it was like compassion just dropped in. It's like, oh, that's the quality. My soul is here, said I'm here to learn compassion. And it's like, oh, it was so powerful because now and then what happened last night, I was reading on my Kindle, and the book, like electronics and me, they're always speaking to me. So the book just closed that one, and it took me to a page where there were options of what you could purchase on Kindle. And my eye was drawn to this one book. And so I started the sample on it. And sure enough, it talked about how each one of us is here to embody divine qualities, and it used compassion. So the soul has actually signed up to be these qualities, to be the essence and the expression of them. And so if we could just work, begin to focus on, okay, what are those qualities? And that's how self-love, with the, soul love, really knowing ourselves as these sovereign beings, sacred beings, happens. And that's the alchemy you're talking about. Without really trying to fix and control or anything, we're just allowing what we all know. We can all recognize these words like purity and peace and harmony. And what are some of the other ones? It's just like this is it.
Yeah.
This, it really
Compassion,
is. This is
wisdom.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think like you said, Sherry, to conceptualize or try to understand with our minuscule little minds like what love is just a fool's errand. And um continue to see, where those barriers are. And
right.
then what's on the other side. Like for you, it was compassion.
Yes,
Like for me, it might be forgiveness, thinking of a situation. And so there's, like you said, our soul has, certain things that it decided it wanted to explore, heal, embody, actualize. And each of us has those unique
we do.
um, kind of soul contracts, if you will. One of
Yeah.
my favorite books that does such a great job of giving many examples of this is called Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz, years ago. But they're able to like kind of like, it reminds me of that Neil Donald Walsh little fable, the
I
little
just
soul
bought
and the
it.
sun. Okay, yeah, the little soul and the sun, and the little soul is just like, hey, like I'll go and be the person that's going to help you to know what forgiveness is, and that's what the little soul wanted. It wanted to know what forgiveness is, and it's just like, hey, remember, I'm doing this for you. Like, so when I do something that is going to require massive forgiveness, like at the highest level, I'm doing this because I love you so much. And and so then we're just here to like have those experiences.
Mhm. That's so funny
Right?
because I just bought that. Sorry.
That is funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I knew about that book, and it was just calling me, and it's just like I want this book, and because it is a beautiful, so we can really understand this journey that we're on, and not cling to and hold on to the resentment. And the reason I feel like compassion is so important for all of us is because we cannot even get to forgiveness until we understand what compassion is.
And I would add to that, we can't even get to compassion and forgiveness till we've allowed ourselves to release all the trapped emotional energy that we might be protecting and holding. So
Right.
we've got wounds of
Yes.
fear. And then on top of that is anger and blame and resentment. We got
Yes.
to clean house first before we can get to compassion, before we
Mhm.
can get to forgiveness. And
See,
for me,
yeah, but
yeah.
how do you do that though? Like this is interesting though, because this is where I'm not quite sure, because like how do we do that? How can we clear something without connecting to something that's so much greater than we are, and allowing that healing to take place? Because we can't, right? Like that's still the mind, that's still the personal self, the attachment to who we are, we thought we were. And in order to begin to let these things go, the wounds go, this is where it gets deep. And we understand that the wound is so much deeper than we could ever imagine. And so we need to call in whatever that is, if it's a source, if it's divine, if it's, whatever name you give it.
Yeah.
It's essentially, this is what brings us to the weaving of the sacredness of masculine and feminine, too.
And we can call the compassion in to assist in the alchemization, or call the love in to assist in the alchemization of those emotional energies. But what I think, if I just so I we're same place, it's like, let's say, you've done something to wrong me, and I'm, in my spiritual self saying, well, I understand where you're coming from, Sherry. You did this thing and you wronged me because of, a wound that you had. You didn't mean to do it, but I'm still pissed. But, I know in my heart I should have compassion for you and forgive you. Oh, I forgive you. But then there's this little niggling thing that's like, well, hey, I'm still pissed. I
Yeah.
still have some anger and resentment, and I feel jaded, and I feel blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I can't get to forgiveness unless I allow myself the full freedom to feel through all of this.
Right.
And where compassion comes in is like, I can take all this uncomfortable stuff. Because really, even though I'm angry and I'm jaded, I'm really wounded.
Yes.
Right. And so then if I can find my compassionate part and and allow my wounded part to be held by my compassionate part.
Exactly. That's
Right.
exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I knew
Pretty good
we just
point.
needed to connect it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Because this is what we're not used to doing. We're used to giving everything outside, especially women. There's something about our role as a woman and or the feminine energy, maybe it is, and just focusing on others and thinking it's outside, and yet we have to bring that compassion, and it's okay if you feel that way. You can feel that way, but don't get stuck in it, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Honor your feelings by all
Yeah.
means.
Yes,
Just don't live in them all day. Like
exactly. And that's our
give them
problem.
their full expression,
Right.
go
Right.
bang a pillow or take a bat to a chair or go find a rage room or go to the woods and sob yourself
Yes.
silly for, hours, whatever is needed. And
Yes.
then compassion and then love and then,
Yes.
filling back up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's always sort of these layers, and but I think what we're both really feel, and I know you well enough that I think you would feel this too. It's like us accessing something within us that can carry us through that, hold us through that, and nurture us through that while we are going. And so we don't feel so alone, and we understand it's okay. It's okay if we're feeling this way right now. You
Right.
will get through it. You
Yeah.
are resilient and all these things. And so, again, it's becoming aware of an energy within us that we aren't quite familiar with yet. And yet, that will kind of reveal itself through the heart, which is why the clearing is so important. So the heart can open and we can open up to our divine expression and it recognize, allow more of our energy, of soul energy to come in.
Yeah.
And then we are that.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
we have a challenging time finding that self-compassion for ourselves, call it in from your higher self or, Mother, Father, God, or whatever, guides, angels, like ask to receive it so that you can know what that is.
Mm.
Um,
This is such a beautiful place, unless
mm,
you wanted to add more. But I know there's one more invocation that you wanted to, and we're going to end with that because I really don't want to take anybody out of anything and allowing you to bring in your beautiful gifts and the
oh,
divine expression through you as we witness and receive this. So I'm deeply, deeply grateful to you for saying yes. And I've loved our time together again today. And I can feel it. I can feel the energy. And thank you for bringing it in for us and
yeah.
allowing me to experience this again. And it's always so beautiful when you are in a sacred conversation, which is why it's really important we align ourselves with that.
Well, I
Oh,
appreciate
wait, before you do that, no, 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 wait, let's stop, pause for a sec, time out. Your offer.
Oh,
Let's
sure.
share.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, I was so caught up. Yeah.
I did this 12, I think it was 11, 12 days, last year, summer solstice. And each day we did a meditation with a light language. And it's basically everything we've been talking about. Like there is a track about balancing the divine feminine, a track about divine masculine, a track for harmonizing them, a track that assists us in our embodiment of I am presence. I know there's one for I don't have it in front of me, but each day there's a meditation and a light language, and the light language helps to just really open up the energy. And so I love it. This is one of my favorite things I've done the group that, was there for the live transmissions, it just felt really, really high vibe. So lots of activations and transmissions, lots of energy clearing. And really it's called honoring your sacred divinity. And so it was just kind of, I was downloaded to me. I wrote it down in like 30 seconds, all the tracks of the days. And so it's available as part of the offer, and you'll just have access to all the tracks. So you can listen to them like meditations and activations. And every time you listen, there will be deeper levels that it can go. Because that's just how the nature of the light language works, is to kind of clear and balance and rebalance everything. So yeah, so that's the offering.
Peeling, sorry, like peeling back a layer, one layer at a time. That's what we're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
have another offer though too, right? Like you're going to be working if the person chooses to work with you directly.
yes, thank you. And sorry, I forgot to go look at my offerings. Yeah, so I've been doing sessions with clients for, I don't know, like 12 years now. And so the remote session that I would do for would be about an hour long. And we really just, like everything we've talked about, scan to see like where is their trapped energy, where is their distortions, where is their stagnation or imbalances. And most of my sessions, I'll usually record a personalized light language for them to listen to over and over again. But when we do meet, we're kind of facilitating together and navigating through just to rebalance and harmonize, but also to actualize. And, of course, we're always bringing in our higher self in more embodied and in actualized ways. So that's really the key, right? It's like, hey, let's clear all that stuff. And so bring in the love. So I'm just guided intuitively in these sessions. Each one is so different and customized to what's needed by my client. So yes, thank you for bringing that up as well.
Oh, well, I couldn't because I really truly can feel your energy right now, and it's so beautiful. And so I do believe that's something somebody could gift themselves along the whole bundle, actually, and then continue with the like daily sessions on themselves after they meet with you too, and to continue to open up and to allow the healing where the healing needs to be, and then to open up to the magic that wants to be revealed in whoever it is that works with you.
You got
And
it.
so, yeah, yeah. Well, I do thank you so much. Beautiful energy. Feel it. It's powerful, and have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation again. And I thank you for saying yes. And I'm going to just say thank you now so that at the end we can just close and let everybody, yeah. Thank you,
Perfect.
beautiful Jen.
Thank you, Sherry. It's good to be together. I loved our time together. I love the sacred conversations. So fun.
Yes, yes. Well,
I was
thank you.
looking forward to this. Yes.
Yes, yes. And then I'm just going to say goodbye to the viewers and thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me this process of bringing in a divinely guided, inspired idea to host these sessions with these beautiful sacred beings. And thank you for being the beautiful sacred being showing up and saying yes to.
Thanks, Sherry.
Okay. Thank you, Jen.
Um, so for this last exercise, let's just close down our eyes. And I want you to consider for yourself if there is a representative person or light being that represents the divine masculine and divine feminine for you. So for me, I always see Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. You may like to choose different representative um, beings for that, or even people in your life who represent like the ideal divine masculine and feminine. So however this appears to you, and if you'd like to, I'll just say Yeshua and Mary Magdalene for the sake of this experience, but I want you to imagine that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene are connected like above your crown. They are in perfect sacred union and harmony. All distortions have been cleared away. The hearts are open. The balance is pure. And however you sense them blended together, I want you to imagine that your crown opens up and they are together going to flow in this beautiful sacred union of divine masculine and feminine in its purest, truest, original form, flowing in through your crown, flowing through all of your body. And I'm going to just bring in a little bit of light language to just open you up to receive this transmission. You might even imagine these two colors dancing and weaving and blending through you. And you are just now opening and receiving this energy. E kale ke tolo ana atakieta ramo satatakieta eta ado oro ia tataki. Ora asato to oro moso to koro oro moso to te anara ara anando ko ototo kiana ara are iata. You might imagine places in your body where these energies need to concentrate and flow and swirl and blend together. Just breathing and receiving. E toro rara esataro omokotoro re etana e toro ormoso todo koto oro rasa tatakiere ela arai. Beautiful weaving, beautiful dancing, holding each other, feeling the purity of this communion and connection that is already within you. E toro rea atadakia toro hotara aree. And we can bring in the sun and the moon. It can bring in the infinity. E kotoro oro maso todo koro oro asato to kiere e tara are e satata koro oriana e taro re e takiere e to oro umakutu osa ataki. E tada oro ora asatata kiera are e. O todo yara iato oro osa tatakia. Really breathing into the heart, allowing this energy, these energies to be balanced, clearing out any past wounds, any separation between your inner masculine and inner feminine. E kotodore e satara ieneme e toro oro mooso toro ona iata. Atade eta hada aniate eto umaki. And just trusting when you invite in these beings that you are receiving the encodements, the entrainment of the energy to assist you into restoring to this pure state within yourself. Just allowing yourself to trust and open if you decide to experience this again. And so let's all just take a big breath in. Releasing anything that is ready to release. And then one more breath in, just receiving a big wave of light. And I like to say to myself as I'm doing these practices, only love lives here, only love lives here, only love lives here. So thank you all for receiving this. Thank you, Sherry, for creating this beautiful container and space and for playing with me today. I'm very appreciative of our time together and for all of you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherry.
I send you all love, peace, and blessing.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.